Hello class, today I'm going to be reading the next part of Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Remember in the last part, Charlie, his family, Willy Wonka have gone into the USA Space Hotel and USA Space Control have started to speak to them to tell them they need to leave. Shh, whispered Mr. Wonka, finger to lips. There followed a few seconds of awful silence. Nobody moved except Mr. Wonka, who kept saying shh, shh. Who are you? Boomed the voice from Houston, and the whole world heard it. I repeat, who are you? Shouted the urgent, angry voice, and 500 million people crouched in front of their television sets, waiting for an answer to come from the mysterious strangers inside the Space Hotel. The television was not able to show a picture of these mysterious strangers. There was no camera in there to record the scene. Only the words came through. The TV watchers saw nothing but the outside of the giant hotel in orbit, photographed, of course, by Shuckworth, Shanks and Shala, who were following behind. For half a minute, the world waited for a reply, but no reply came. Speak! Boomed the voice, getting louder and louder and ending in a fearful, frightening shout that rattled Charlie's eardrums. Speak! 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 Grandma Georgina shot under the sheet. Grandpa Josephine stuck her fingers in her ears. Grandpa George buried his head in the pillow. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket, both petrified, were once again in each other's arms. Charlie was clutching Grandpa Joe's hand, and the two of them were staring at Mr. Wonka and begging him with their eyes to do something. Mr. Wonka stood very still, and although his face looked calm, you can be quite sure his clever, inventive brain was spinning like a dynamo. This is your last chance, boomed the voice. We are asking you once more, who are you? Reply immediately. If you do not reply, we shall be forced to regard you as dangerous enemies. We shall then press the emergency freezer switch and the temperature in the Space Hotel will drop to minus 100 degrees centigrade. All of you will be instantly deep frozen. You have 15 seconds to speak. After that, you will turn into icicles. 1, 2, 3. Grandpa, whispered Charlie as the count continued. We must do something. We must. Quick. 6, said the voice. 7, 8, 9. Mr. Wonka had not moved. He was still gazing straight ahead, still quite cool, perfectly expressionless. Charlie and Grandpa Joe were staring at him in horror. Then, all at once, they saw the tiny twinkling wrinkles of a smile appear around the corners of his eyes. He sprang to life. He spun round on his toes, skipped a few paces across the floor, and then, in a frenzied, unearthly sort of scream, he cried, Fimbo Fees! The loudspeaker stopped counting. There was silence. All over the world, there was silence. Charlie's eyes were riveted on Mr. Wonka. He was going to speak again. He was taking a deep breath. You can see Mr. Wonka here. And the beautiful chandeliers in the Space Hotel. Bungo Bunai, he screamed. He put so much force into his voice that the effort lifted him right up onto the tips of his toes. Bungo Bunai, Daffy Dunai, Ubi Lunai. Again, the silence. The next time Mr. Wonka spoke, the words came out so fast and sharp and loud, they were like bullets from a machine gun. Zoonk, 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 he barked. The noise echoed around and around the lobby of the Space Hotel. It echoed around the world. Mr. Wonka now turned and faced the far end of the lobby where the loudspeaker voice had come from. He walked a few paces forward as a man would, perhaps, who wanted a more intimate conversation with his audience. And this time, the tone was much quieter. The words came more slowly, but there was a touch of steel in every syllable. Kirisuku, Malibuku, Weeby, Wizzy, Unyubi, Cuckoo. Alipenda, Kakamenda, Pants for London, Ifno, Suspender. Fuika Ika, Kandarika, We be stronger, you be weaker. Papa Cotta, Bora Mocha, very risky, you provoker. Catty Catty, moons and stars. Fan Fanisher, Venus, Mars. Mr. Wonka paused dramatically for a few seconds. Then he took an enormous deep breath, and in a wild and fearsome voice he yelled out, Kitten Bibi, Zunk! Fumbalizi, Zunk! Gugamiza, Zunk! Fumikaka, Zunk! Anapolala, Zunk, Zunk, Zunk! The effect of all this on the world below was electric. In the control room in Houston, in the White House in Washington, in palaces and cities, buildings and mountains, shacks, from America to China to Peru, the 500 million people who heard that wild and fearsome voice yelling out these strange and mystic words all shivered with fear before their television sets. Everybody began turning to everybody else and saying, "Who are they? What language was that? Where do they come from?" In the President's study in the White House, Vice President Tibbs, the members of the Cabinet, the chiefs of the Army and the Navy and the Air Force, the sword swallower from Afghanistan, the Chief Financial Advisor, and Mrs. Torbsibus, the cat, all stood tense and rigid. They were much afraid.